Oh, it's good. Let's get that background stuff out of the background. Okay. Let's just put it out there that I'm live. Whatever. Discord's not working anyway. Let's go to my stream. It's a little bit boring right now, because no one knows that I'm streaming. Yeah. Okay, the thumbnail's good. I'm watching my own stream. That's crazy. Let's just do some more advertising and we'll get on with it. Alright, I'm gonna try to pay attention to the chat this time. If there's anyone out there watching. I'm just gonna have my phone muted, I'll have the chat open. Just pull some background stuff. Yeah, don't look at my stuff. Yeah, I don't know what my recommended is, so don't ask. Oh god. You only seen my search history, whatever. This guy makes some cool videos. I'm gonna listen to it.
This planet's our only home. But we're not treating it that way.
It's cool.
Who doesn't love a good bank robbery? The exceedingly complicated heist plots, the espionage, the explosive shootouts with coppers, which is kind of a bad thing when you think about it. But the high-speed police getaway chases that statistically injure almost as many innocent people as they do criminals. Wow. We always come back to loving death and destruction, don't we? Fuck yeah, we do. That shit is awesome. But I can think of one thing that's more universally beloved than that. Something that transcends all cultures, so that even the most peace-loving, non-violent Tibetan monk would get a good chuckle out of it when he saw it. People doing stupid things. Today I want to talk to you about America's first bank robbery. Partially because history is really fucking interesting and infinitely better than anything you'll find on Crunchyroll these days, and partially because if you're ever in your local coffee shop eyeing the girl of your dreams and you overhear her talking to her still cute but not as attractive friend about how she's just dying to meet a man who can talk all day about the Pennsylvania bank robbery of 1798, well, my mission on this planet has always been to get you laid, so thank me later. But mostly I want to talk to you about it because it was stupid. Really stupid. I want you to be thinking about the stupidest possible way for a bank robber to get caught while watching this video. And then think of an even stupider way, and you'll be talking about the Philadelphia bank robbery of 1798. Okay, so America hasn't really been a thing very long by this point in time. There's only 16 states by now, and thank God Mississippi isn't one of them yet. This whole big banking thing is still being figured out, and most news is shared by shouting down the street and having the furthest person nearby continue to shout it along the way. Now, it's ironic that big happenings traveled the world via a game of telephone when this was about 80 years before the invention of telephones. And this is unfortunate because something very big was happening. It was called yellow fever. Yellow fever is a sickness what makes your muscles ache and your body get all feverish. And it was fucking everywhere in pre-1800s Philadelphia. About 5,000 people had already died of the disease in previous pandemics. Everyone else was looking to get the fuck out of Dodge because of it. Here we meet Patrick Lyon, who we'll refer to as Lion for the rest of this video because that is a badass name and I'm jealous it's not mine. Lion was a blacksmith who had a 19-year-old apprentice. Lion's wife and child were already claimed by yellow fever, and he decided he was going to do everything he could to save his business and the people close to him. He supplied a boat, wrangled up his apprentice, and sailed up the Delaware River to, well, Delaware. But by the time he got there, it was too late. His apprentice had contracted yellow fever and died a mere
two. Very low quality. Really? I've been trying to like fix it somehow. Like, you know, do I lower the frame rate? Will that change anything? Like, is my connection an issue? No, that doesn't do anything. Well, I guess I'm stuck streaming like this for a while. I don't know, I'll put the video back on.
2 days later, Lion was now alone in Delaware and tried to take his mind off of his recent life upheaval. He decided to immerse himself into a newspaper, and as he was reading a very relevant article to his recent troubles, an old acquaintance of his recognized him and said, Patrick? Patrick Lyon? Dude, didn't you make the locks to the vault of the Bank of Pennsylvania? And Lyon responded, yeah. I made the locks to the vault of the Bank of Pennsylvania. What about it? And his friend responded, because that bank was just robbed. And you're about to get fucking arrested for burglary, dude. Nani the fuck, said Lion, as he grabbed that paper again and began to read the story of the robbery. Oh, by the way, people spread news back then by newspapers, not by shouting it at each other down the street. That's a really important detail, and I'm sure we'll fix that in editing. As Lion read the newspaper, his eyes went wide. His pupils dilated, just like he snorted as much cocaine as Snowflame, the cocaine-powered supervillain. And the camera zoomed out on his brain while he had one of those brain blasts that Jimmy Neutron needed to use because his socially inept brain didn't know how to describe the concept of thinking to his friends without him being a huge nerd about it. Lion knew what happened, because he sure as shit didn't rob that bank. It's time for a flashback. Ooh, flashback. Ooh, the screen's gonna get all warbly and the flashback instrument sound's gonna play. I think it's a harp. The flashback time. Just last days before Lyon left Philadelphia, he was approached by a man named Samuel Robinson. Robinson was hired by the Bank of Pennsylvania to oversee moving their operations to a new location. A new location meant the vault needed new locks, so Samuel decided to ask Lyon if he wanted to take the job. Lyon didn't really want to, seeing his yellow fever fittingly made cowards out of all men, and he wanted to get the fuck out of town. But he decided a secure bank vault is more important than human lives, so he took the job. He specifically found it curious how much of a rush job the whole thing seemed to be, and how the locks he ended up designing weren't nearly good enough for bank vault standards. But anytime Lyon tried to protest, Robinson would pull out his fucking keys and jingle them like this and say, "Ooh, keys! Ooh, look at the shiny jingly keys! Ooh, keys! Ooh!" So eventually Lyon stopped asking questions and just started giggling adorably. While installing the locks, Robinson was also accompanied by Isaac Davis, who observed the lock installation entirely. Lyon thought it was weird that during the entire process, Davis kept muttering, "Can't wait to rob this place after the new locks are put on it." But again, at the time, Lyon thought nothing of it. And then we know, as my friend Sonic the Hedgehog would put it, Lyon went to do his city escape to get away from yellow fever. But shockingly, the Bank of Pennsylvania was robbed right after that. $162,821 was stolen from the vault.
If a scammer gets on your system, they're going to live on it. They'll go through things like your photos, on your browser, your emails, passwords, bank accounts, whatever. Guardio can identify these.
Big deal. That's only a fourth of my parents' mortgage, you scoff. Well, you forgot to factor in inflation, you fucking idiot. Most estimates put the value of the money at around $2 to $5 million today. But according to my calculations, using the average U.S. inflation rate of 3.8% and calculating it for the 225 years since the robbery happened, that money today would be worth $717,984,317. I probably shouldn't be an economics teacher because that sounds wrong as hell. The robbery became the talk of the nation because people were astonished at how cleanly the whole thing had happened. There were no signs of forced entry, no witnesses, no violence, no items, Fox only, Final Destination. And now the flashback's over. Screams doing the flashback effect. It'll be putting. Lyon crumpled up his newspaper and said to his friend, "Thank you, friend, for warning me about my impending battle. But now I, Patrick Lyon, must harness my ancestral blacksmith kung fu and defeat the evil lawmen that would see me framed for such an incident. I head now for Philadelphia again, and will travel on foot this time, because I lost my car keys and I can't drive." Alright, let's recap this, because my little subversive ping-pong storytelling may make for an exciting tale of heist adventures, but it could leave you fuzzy on the details. Patrick Lyon was a blacksmith in Philadelphia. He tried to flee the city to avoid a plague of yellow fever, but before he left, he was approached by Samuel Robinson. Samuel Robinson was hired by the Bank of Pennsylvania to move the bank into a new building, and he wanted Lyon to install the locks on their new vault. Lyon did the job in a rush and noted how strange the whole thing felt, including how a man named Isaac Davis seemed to be surveying the entire process. So Lyon finished his work and then fled to Delaware to avoid yellow fever as intended. Shortly after that, the bank was robbed, and news reached Lyon in Delaware that there was a good chance the police would suspect him for the entire thing because of his work on the locks. So Lyon decides to travel back to Philly to clear his name. And that's where we are now. If you still don't get it, put the video back to I'm going the wrong way. Put the video timeline back to 0 seconds and then hit the loop button, so that way you can watch this video over and over to understand what's going on. And in fact, do that even when you're away from your computer, so that way your computer can learn what's going on and teach it to you later. Now, the police in this scenario have a fairly strong case, to be honest. Keep in mind that not only is all of this timing pretty fucky-wucky, but Lyon's partner died of yellow fever on the journey to Delaware. This seems like a pretty good case of I robbed a bank with my partner and then snuffed him out for his share of the money if I were an old-timey detective. Immediately after stepping foot in Pennsylvania, Lyon was detained by police and brought to a hearing with High Constable John Haynes. Lyon went on and on and on about his story story as to why he didn't do what they say he did, but Haynes wasn't having any of it. Instead, he decided to make an example out of Lyon by ruling through the old classic ignorance trump card: racial prejudice. Haynes said of Lyon, and this is a direct quote by the way, that he absolutely committed the robbery because he was one of those ingenious Celts who could open up the cleverest locks devised within a minute. Wow. That's pretty fucked up. I'm so glad that the modern legal system that we have never lets racial prejudice stand in the way of proper justice.
Whoa, what? Is there something wrong with me now? Like I clicked 3 times and it only went.
Right?
It
Lyon
skipped
was
the middle
thrown in
one. Like
jail,
it clicked,
and while he was there,
clicked the first time.
he contracted yellow fever. That's the one
And then
fucking
the
thing he
second
wanted
click.
to avoid. Come on!
It just didn't register, and then it registered the third click,
Boo!
and I was like,
1798
ooh.
Philadelphia legal system. Boo! Now you've probably been wondering a few things about this whole video. Number one, why was I told to think of stupid ways for a bank robber to get caught? It just
Oh,
seems
I
like they
looked-
caught the wrong guy, and that's the story. Number two, that story in itself was interesting, I suppose, but was that even really worth a video? I mean, yeah, it was a goofy
forgot to
mix-up, but
change
that doesn't really
the
seem
name
like
of the
it's worth
stream.
all the effort of making a YouTube video on. And number three, how the hell does Hugbees manage to keep his hair so luxurious and soft while maintaining its shape, despite the fact that he's bouncing around like a baboon? The answers are, don't worry, you'll find out, and Jack Black Nourishing Hair and Scalp Conditioner. Because this isn't where things end. It almost was the end of this admittedly sad and frustrating story, but it's not the end. And that's because